They know if I win and we all shine. Sure, my people got a plate at the table before mine.
That's Brunch on Sundays. This one's different.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here for the UFC 268 preview, of course, or review, sorry, should I say. We are later on in the week. It's another episode of Punch Brunch. Do apologise, work commitments getting in the way there. But we had probably the best card in mixed martial arts history, definitely in UFC history. You know, we had 11 fights that were phenomenal. The prelims were phenomenal, the main card was phenomenal. And it was just one of those nights where MMA, everything went perfect. You know, we had absolute bangers in Davies with Ian Garry and Alex Perieira. We had two #and steals with Namajunas and Kamaru Usman defending their belts in closely competitive matches, which we didn't think was going to be the case going into the bout, at least. You know, we had Justin Gaethje and Chandler giving us one of the best wars of all time in the opening of that main card, and obviously we had Shane Burgos, Billy Calantillo giving us, you know, again an absolute war. It's a shame they had to follow on from what was an absolute war between Chandler and Gaethje because they missed out on a 50k bonus. But I think Dana White said he was going to amend that afterwards with an unofficial bonus, I guess. And obviously you had Cheeto there and knock out Frankie Edgar in the third round also. But let's start at the top of the show. Kamaru Usman defeating Colby Covington. I did think Kamaru Usman done enough. It looked like he was going to get him out there in that second round, the third round. I was thinking, oh, Kamaru Usman's just levels above this whole division right now. You know, Colby Covington's been too inactive. He's been too resting on his laurels. He came in a bit stiff, a bit almost like he was playing the long game. Whereas Kamaru Usman came out straight out away from the, straight out of the gun, straight away, or straight out of the gates, should I say. Similar like he did against Mazda, you're thinking, oh, he's going to run through Colby Covington. But Colby Covington, for all the trash talk he brings, for all the nonsense that he speaks, and the silly dresses or suits and hats, etc., he's a competitor, and he's a damn good competitor. He's a damn good fighter. He's got incredible wrestling. You know, Kamaru Usman has or had, depending on your thoughts, 100% takedown defense going into that bout. But Covington's the only one that's really been, close to taking that 100% away from him. And even then, there's arguments that he got 2 takedowns in the fight. He showed, a lot of heart from that third round. Especially in that first round. There was talk about him getting the broken jaw and not quitting, but he enjoyed as much pain as he could. But this, if they'd come out in that third round and got TKO'd and went home, no one would have really, batted an eyelid to it. But because that's just how good Kamaru Usman is, I was expecting that Usman, being the more active fighter this year, having already beaten Burns and Masvidal earlier in the year, many were thinking and expecting a walkover, I believe. But these two gave us maybe the better fight than the first time these two met. Obviously, a much cleaner fight, a much more competitive fight. There was less striking, but there's more a mix of the blends. And I said in the recap of my Twitter at Mitchell _Ivy, or Mitchell Ivy _ on Twitter. It felt like it was a less emotional bout, but more about who's got the better skill. And Kamaru Usman came out with the better skill here and there. He had the better boxing, he had the better time, and especially in those first 2 rounds, his striking was so much on point. Whereas Colby Covington felt like he was a bit desperate to get out of there, a bit not hesitant, but he was very wild and he wasn't landing too much. Whereas Kamaru Usman was just putting the jab on him. He was showing why he is a champion, the pound-for-pound greatest. And then something happened in that third round where Colby Covington switched the game plan up and the tempo up a little bit, and he looked like he was going to get the win here or maybe cause an upset. He was bringing Kamaru Usman into his sort of battle, into making it an emotional battle and testing the ego of Kamaru Usman, thinking, let's have the striking battle here. Let's meet in the cage and see who backs down first. Now, listening to the Fight Disciples podcast, it was 2-2 for me personally going into that 5th round. And maybe the challenger, Colby Covington, could have got the finish. But he did go for that takedown, didn't he? It looked like he had Kamaru Usman, if not hurt, but certainly, on the back step, with cause of concerns as well. Having taken a few punches and a few knocks, and Colby Covington landed clean in both the third and fourth. But I did think Kamaru Usman done enough, especially in that second round. It should have been a 10-8. I don't know why it was 10-9, maybe because the immediate standing up for Colby Covington, but to get knocked down twice, no matter the speed of how you get up, it should be a 10-8 round in my opinion, because it shows how dominant that is and how it shows the direction of the fight that's going in that round. But yeah, I came away with a lot of respect for Colby Covington. I thought, yes, he sells the fight. I think Kamaru Usman's a star now, so he sells equally as well. Without the trash talking, there's an authenticity to Kamaru Usman, albeit he sometimes takes, Conor McGregor's lines in interviews and press conferences, etc. There's an authenticity about it, whereas Colby Covington, we know it's a gimmick, which we kind of accepted now. And this version of Colby Covington was certainly better than, the salesman of Colby Covington was certainly better than the Make America Great Again Colby Covington that was following Donald Trump about. He's changed his sort of gimmick towards the law enforcers and the police department, etc., and those who keep America safe. So it's weird. He's weirdly become unlikably likable. He's certainly the heel, and he's playing that well. He's almost doing that period where Chael Sonnen and Michael Bisping, they were disliked proportionately, or by a large proportion of the audience until they got to the latter end of their careers. Obviously, Michael Bisping became champion. Chael Sonnen never did. And maybe Colby's, following that route. Although Chael Sonnen, obviously, Chael Sonnen's a big inspiration for him. They're from the same town, or same city in Oregon, of course. So maybe there's an element of, as he's getting older, he's 33, maybe 32, 33, that he's winding down that part. It's more about him showing himself, and he did look a lot better under his new coach. Of course, he left the American Top Team. I think prior to the Woodley one, so he's had 2 fights under this new tutelage now. But let's have a look at the results. Of course, 158 strikes. They landed at 336. 119 out of 298. So a lot thrown. From company. It was very busy, but not many landed until the 3rd round and beyond that. Especially in that 4th and 5th round, it looked like he was piling on the pressure. You had 123 significant strikes. Usman, that must be 114. Let's have a look. To apologize, 107 out of 281. I don't know why the graphic is so wrong, but as you can clearly see, 0 out of 11 takedowns. So not one of those 2 takedowns that were being argued were officially counted, whereas Kamaru Usman did get 1 for 1. So yes, a fantastic title fight, a fantastic main event to top off. Thought was an absolute cracking main card, probably the card of the year, both on paper and with the results of the card as well, and how the card played out. It delivered both physically and on paper, for sure. Now, what's next for Kamaru Usman? Of course, now Leon Edwards is once again opponentless because Jorge Masvidal's pulled out with injury. Conveniently, after Colby Covington said last week that Leon should pull out. Jorge should pull out of that fight against Leon Scott, his nickname for Edwards, of course. And they should fight it, in the first quarter of next year. Now, yes, I agree that fight is a fight to make between Masvidal and Covington. They also mentioned the Ultimate Fighter. I think that would be perfect. Next year's Ultimate Fighter should be Masvidal versus Covington. Then you get involved with the ATT drama and the new camp that Covington's got. I think that would be perfect for the Ultimate Fighter. There's not too much on the line. It's a big fight. Both of them are going to want a trilogy bout against Kamaru Usman. Now, I'd rather give, with all due respect, another trilogy to Colby Covington, albeit he's 2-0. He's shown, in both fights, he's shown that he's capable to stand toe-to-toe with Kamaru Usman. Where Masvidal, obviously, he got finished in the last one, so there's less gravity and there's less of an argument from Jorge Masvidal to get a trilogy. Both those two thought he'd definitely consider it to be, for a number 1 contendership, because of the amount of eyes and numbers they bring to the sport also. Of course, you've got the likes of Gilbert Burns waiting in the wings. You've got Vicente Luque. It's a shame those two are in the same camp, because those two should probably fight for, if not a number 1 contenders bout, but definitely the next in line after that. So, unfortunately, we're not going to see that fight, and obviously those two have to find separate opponents, which hopefully one will be Leon Edwards. I'd like to see Leon Edwards face Gilbert Burns and probably Vicente Luque. I don't know, he's just come out from being the vacant, so maybe if Kamaru Usman wants a quick turnaround, you give him you do Usman versus Luque, maybe in February, while Leon Edwards and Gilbert Burns fight for the number one contendership. Or you just put Leon Edwards into that fight. But it looks like they're going to try and rebook once again for the fourth time now that fight against Hamzat Chimaev. And to have a look at the ranking, of course, as we mentioned, Gilbert Burns coming off that win against Stephen Thompson, who's now fighting Bilal Muhammad, fantastic fight. Case is fighting next week also, so he could be moving into the top 5. But it's really, we're into that final 4 now final sort of 3 now with Luque, but Edwards and Burns, and probably Edwards is further up, just because the streak that he's put together. But for Vicente Luque being the backup might just get the nudge because of playing that company role, I guess you could say. But if Hamzat Chimaev takes that fight and beats Leon Edwards, there's going to be definitely people asking him to have a title bout immediately after that. So yes, I feel sorry for Leon Edwards. Of course, he's not had the best of 2 years now. He's supposed to fight Tyron Woodley, of course, before COVID started. Obviously, that got cancelled in London. They wanted him to fly out to Vegas, I believe it would have been, to fight Usman on short notice, or it might have been Fight Island actually at that point in September. Of course, the Hamzat Chimaev fight fell through 3 times. He came back, fought Bilal Muhammad. There was an eye poke that was no contest, and then he fought Nate Diaz. And he did get the rub of the green for the Nate Diaz win, because he did get rocked heavily in that 5th round, and lasting memory of that fight is Nate Diaz, almost finishing Leon Edwards, catching him badly as well, and just not maximising the chances of getting the win. So it's been a rough ride for Leon. And to lose the Jorge Masvidal fight that should have happened 2 years ago after the 3-piece Sarasota incident, obviously the O2 Arena, this fight had to have happened. There was a tweet that Leon Edwards said that he'd be a millionaire going out of that fight with Jorge Masvidal because of the numbers it brings, and obviously it would have been guaranteed a title shot with a win. So I still think if he wins, if he fights at UFC 269, that he'd be guaranteed a win. It's just who's going to be his opponent, and he does need an opponent because he needs to fight a 2nd time this year, or a 3rd time, to close out this year, because he missed so much in 2020. But yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for him to maybe get the next title opportunity. It's just that he seems to be so out of favour because he isn't the most sellable asset in that division right now. And Kamaru Usman's so good. It is another rematch that Kamaru Usman won the first time around. So yes, let me know what your thoughts are on what's next for Kamaru Usman. What's next for Colby Covington? It has to be Jorge Masvidal, doesn't it? Whereas Kamaru Usman probably should get Leon Edwards, but it's unlikely he's going to get Leon Edwards next, of course. And obviously that leads on nicely to Rose Namajunas defeating Zhang Weili now. Zhang Weili came out with a fantastic game plan. She looked phenomenal in that 1st round. She won the 1st round quite convincingly. I think she won the 3rd round also. I did give Rose 2, 4, and 5. I had it 2-2 going into that 5th round again, similar to the Kamaru Usman fight. But I just thought the champ did enough in that 5th round. She got a takedown early on and controlled the fight on the floor to ground it out. A real champion's performance in that 5th round, because it could have gone very wrong. She got caught up in a submission. If she wanted to go toe-to-toe with Zhang, I think Zhang was almost hurting her more when she did come in and connect. Obviously, there's a range difference of Rose Namajunas was able to bat away a lot of those attempted strikes and control the distance and use her footwork, which is phenomenal to get the win. Now, I was surprised when they gave it a split. Well, I wasn't surprised at the split decision. I thought it was that close to the fight. But I was surprised when one of the judges said it was 4-1 to Rose Namajunas. I didn't think it was 4-1. I don't see where you can picture the 4th round in those fights where she won. Which I think Zhang got undone, but I think it was, and when they did announce it 4-1, I thought, oh, maybe they're going to Zhang Weili here. So I would have gone more 4-1 to Zhang's performance rather than Rose Namajunas' performance. But I'm glad we got hashtag in still. Rose Namajunas, the best strawweight in the UFC right now. Obviously, she's beat Yanni twice, she beat Zhang Weili twice, she beat Jessica Andrade. Well, they need to go and do that 3rd fight. And I think that's probably going to be next, or Marina Rodriguez, by the sounds of it. Of course, there's a lot of talk about Carla Esparza, and that would be another rematch, one that Rose Namajunas lost the 1st one, but obviously that fight birthed this strawweight division in the Ultimate Fighter. Carla Esparza won that, of course, and that's where this division was born. So I'd like to see that full circle especially through Rose Namajunas coming away from the Ultimate Fighter, having lost that, and then rebuilding himself back up, becoming the champion, losing the belt, becoming the champion a second time. While you've got Carlos Esparza, who's almost had that Glover Teixeira sort of resurgence, where she was on a tough run of defeats, and then she came back and she's used her wrestling fantastically, and she's worked her way back up the rankings now to a point where she deserves a title shot, and it'd almost be rude not to give her a title shot at this point. To have a look at the quick results from the fight, of course, we had 130 strikes there after Namajunas, 162 out of 202 for Zhang. She was much busier with her striking, but obviously 86 of them significant for Namajunas, more significant strikes than Zhang Weili, and she had two takedowns, which was in the fifth and third round, which capitalized the round for her, in my opinion, or it might be the second round even. While Zhang Weili had 5 out of 11 takedowns, but of course, some of those multiple in the same round, and a less of time controlling Namajunas on the ground. But yes, Namajunas came away and still. And I do think they give her either Andrade or Rodriguez. I think that's wrong. I think they should give her Carlos Esparza, give it a rematch. Esparza deserves it, and Rose Namajunas wants it as well, by the sounds of things. Obviously, just get back that loss, I suppose. But Marina Rodriguez is a hot streak, especially after beating a name like Mackenzie Dern. And you have got Jessica Andrade, who beat Caitlin Chookagian, beat Cynthia Calvillo, in her last performance, and smartly called out the strawweight division. That was a good call for her. And she had whoever won on Saturday night, she would have had probably first pick, because obviously she lost the title to Zhang. She took the title from Rose Namajunas, and I think that is the perfect fight to make the trilogy. Andrade's a big name, a former champion, but politically, I would say, give the shot to Carlos Esparza. She deserves it more so than Marina and Jessica Andrade does right now. Of course, Marlon Vera in the bantamweight division came out, got taken down by Frank Edgar in the first round, got dominated, thinking, Frank Edgar's not so back, but maybe Marlon Vera is not quite at that level yet where he's struggling against the likes of Jose Aldo, and Frank Edgar can stand toe-to-toe with them. He can go 15 minutes with them, but he can't quite push it to the point where he's getting a victory against either of those. But, he's 40 years of age, 41 years of age, Frank Edgar. And unfortunately, that gas tank did show in the second round. Marlon Vera was picking his shots. He was closing the octagon off brilliantly. He was looking more dangerous. Frank Edgar couldn't take him down anymore. And of course, in the third round, he took that front kick to the face, which was, a vicious knockout. You've all seen the pictures going around social media of Frank Edgar once it connected. He did say it was an early stoppage, or argued that it was an early stoppage. For me, a good stoppage. Yeah, he saw how violent that kick was, and it dropped him immediately. Of course, he did bounce back up, but whether that's just the sheer force, reawakening him up, we don't know. But definitely Marlon Vera deserved to win that, and I have no questions about the stoppage being a good one, in my opinion. Now, that's where we get to the two wars. Shane Burgos, of course, Billy Cantillo. Billy Cantillo, absolutely phenomenal chin. He never backed down. Shane Burgos, fantastic blocks. We know what Shane Burgos brings to the table. And, this was a big fight for him to take. If he'd have lost this, he might have dropped out of the rankings, whereas Billy would have taken his spot, of course. But Shane Burgos, done what Shane Burgos done. He's so violent. Again, he's someone who never really backs down. And these two, both from New York, fighting in Madison Square Garden, I'm sure they both had a lot of family and friends in the arena that they weren't going to back down and let down. And neither of them really did, and we got to the unanimous decision. It was just unfortunate that it taken place right after that Gaethje Chandler fight. In an ideal world, having seen the card, you'd probably swap Burgos Cantillo around with Frank Edgar and Marlon Vera, because that fight was a little bit more of a calmer mood and situation, where Shane Burgos and Billy Cantillo just went straight out, all out war, the 3 rounds. Really did deserve a 50k bonus, and had Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje not fought on this card, they definitely would have walked away with 50k each. But yes, it'd be interesting to see what happens next with Shane Burgos. It's good to see him back at the win column, but this division is pretty rough to book at the moment. Maybe give them a Korean Zombie, maybe, or a Calvin Cater, maybe an Arnold Allen, somewhere in that region. Obviously he's down at 14 actually, so maybe give them a Bryce Mitchell, Sadiq Yusuf, all fantastic fights. But yeah, it was a much needed win for Shane Burgos. Whereas Billy Cantillo, he didn't lose anything other than the fight. He's going to gain fans from this. He's going to get he would have benefited out of everything apart from an extra win on his record. But he's definitely showed that he's one UFC caliber, and two, he's got one heck of a chin, and he's again one heck of a competitor to watch, and he's excited to watch. And these two gave us an absolute war. As did, of course, Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. I wasn't expecting Michael Chandler to come out so vicious. Of course, there was a lot of talk about going into this going, the first one to back down as a bitch, etc. Justin Gaethje, I think, said that more so than Michael Chandler. But I was thinking maybe Michael Chandler would undercut him and almost bait him into a striking back and then take him down and almost keep him there. But Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler, they came out, they met each other in the ring and just went hammer and nail on each other for about 14 and a half minutes, maybe 13 minutes, a 15-minute fight. Because they did relax after a minute and a half, well, about 2 minutes left of the fight, which I commended because these two were, they walked away incredibly hurt and taking a lot of damage, each of them. Although Justin Gaethje hadn't worn it on his face like Michael Chandler did. Michael Chandler was cut, bloodied, bruised, looked like he'd been in an absolute war. Whereas Justin Gaethje looked like he'd been in a sparring session almost, albeit his legs were jacked up because of the leg kicks. Those two had both been throwing at each other for 14 minutes. But I did like the fact that they slowed it down and said, let's get to the decision. Let's both walk away with a bit of extra money here with 50k bonuses. And you can see that in the results, of course. 133 strikes out of 205. 104 landed from 246. 116 out of 183. A significant death for Justin Gaethje. 103 significant for Chandler. And of course, Chandler got 1 out of 6 takedowns. I believe that was after he got severely hurt. Obviously got knocked down in the second round with the uppercut that landed beautifully from Justin Gaethje. We thought that was going to be all she wrote, but Michael Chandler weathered the storm and he came back. Obviously it was 1-1 going into the third round, and you'd think maybe Chandler, that he kept that pace up, that maybe he could have got a unanimous decision win there with 2-1, but unfortunately he didn't have much gas in the tank left. He'd taken a lot of damage. And he gave us an entertaining fight. The Gaethje, he does deserve the next title shot between Perieira and Oliveira. Whoever wins that one, give it to Justin Gaethje next. He's come back and put us an absolute war on. Of course, we lost to Khabib and Nurmagomedov. Everyone did who thought Nurmagomedov. But he became the forgotten man in this division. But he reignited why everyone loves Justin Gaethje and why everyone tunes in to watch the highlight. As did Michael Chandler. Obviously, Michael Chandler's had a fantastic year also. Almost after the demise of Justin Gaethje, which I think where the animosity came in, going into this one, obviously Michael Chandler came into the UFC to be back up to Justin Gaethje, Khabib. Obviously, Gaethje lost that, and Michael Chandler went on to beat Dan Hooker, got the title shot immediately after that against Oliveira. And I think that rubbed Gaethje up the wrong way, having been in the UFC for so long, and deserving that title shot maybe a little bit more. But Chandler obviously sees the opportunity, as you certainly should. Obviously, Dustin Poirier at the time was quote-unquote the number one contender in everyone's eyes and probably champion in everyone's eyes. But he went and fought McGregor, of course, which was the wise decision for him also. So yes, Justin Gaethje gets the title shot on the next, and I think for me, Michael Chandler, he looks like he's going to be aiming towards Conor McGregor's return, isn't he? And I'd like to see him do that. He's coming in, looks fantastic for the year he's been in the UFC. He's probably thinking, I'm not going to get that belt anytime soon. And he did say he's going to be here for a good time, not a long time. And there's no better time than having a Conor McGregor fight on a time where Conor McGregor seems beatable. Obviously, he's going to be coming back from that horrific leg break. Looks like everything's going well with the recovery. He's boxing again. He's training again. Although he never seemed to really stop training, but more so he can do more boxing and MMA style training. Rather than just doing weights in the gym. So yeah, I'm interested to see what McGregor comes back. Like, I do like the fight with Chandler. Chandler is a smaller guy, former featherweight even. Is currently 120 at the moment, so apologies if I'm sorry my words. But former featherweight from Bellator, of course, coming up to lightweight. Now he's actually called it for 170 now. He said he was bigger than both the champion and challenger in the main event. come Sunday morning or Monday. So that could happen at 170. I'd rather it happen at 155. I think that'd be both their more optimal weights. But I like that fight. Michael Chandler deserves to get paid well after that war. And part of me thinks Chandler brings almost takes Conor McGregor down to the ground, and we see a wrestling match from Michael Chandler. But I think Conor McGregor hits harder than Gaethje, and if he lands on the chin of Chandler, I wonder how many of those he could take. Whether it be one or two, not many can take the left hand of Conor McGregor once when he's in his full pomp. Obviously, Dustin Poirier showed that he's got a good chin, but he didn't really take too many left hands. He took one or two in both fights that rocked him, but unfortunately, for Conor at least, he couldn't capitalize and get a third and fourth in like he did against Eddie Alvarez and get Poirier out there. Poirier showed the experience, the importance of the activity in the octagon, to be able to get through those shots, and obviously he dominated both performances. So yeah, for me, and when I look at the rankings, you make obviously you've got Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier at 269, Justin Gaethje gets the winner. For me, book Dariush versus Makhachev for the number one contender after that. And then let's give Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor. I think if you look at Conor McGregor's return, you look at Dan Hooker, Tony Ferguson, and probably Michael Chandler. For those fights, all three of those deserve that fight. Tony Ferguson, thought he's brought to the game. Those two should have thought, back in 2017, 2018. Dan Hooker, because he's been such a company man this year, of course, he lost to Islam Makhachev. But he deserves to get paid as well with a Conor McGregor fight, as does Michael Chandler. So for me, Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker would be the top two, just for what they've done this year. But if Tony Ferguson wants his biggest payday and probably maybe his final payday, let's get that fight with Conor McGregor. It's only a couple of months now before McGregor's going to be back. He's probably going to be back February, March time, but it looks like things, maybe April at latest. And of course, he wants to be getting involved in the Takeover Part 2, which Ian Garry kicked off on Saturday night with a fantastic finish against Jordan Williams. Now, of course, he's explained himself, he wasn't feeling himself in the cage. The nerves got to him at MSG, which is understandable. He's 23 years of age, making his debut at MSG in a sold-out arena in the biggest card of the year. And he's fighting, not a veteran, but someone who's vastly more experienced. 8 years older than Ian Garry is, and Ian Garry showed good toughness to stick with it and showed why he is the future. And obviously, of course, he got that finish, which many people have likened to Conor McGregor. And I did say, ironically, in the preview, I think he's more Wonder Boy and style bender than he is Conor McGregor in the way that he moves himself. He's a lot taller, of course, being 6'3", so he has got that movement. He has got those striking. But he pulled out a Conor McGregor-esque knockout against Jordan Williams in that first round, and he absolutely rocked it on the mic. Of course, he didn't call anyone out, but he played the Conor McGregor card very well, showed his respect to him. Of course, both of them having big wins in MSG in their careers. Well, obviously, Conor McGregor became champ on today. In fact, today 5 years ago he became champ against Eddie Alvarez in MSG, and now you see the next generation, Ian Garry, doing tremendous thing to his UFC debut, and he's going to be a big part of this welterweight division. Even he said he's going to probably be him and Hamza Chimaev in this division in 4 or 5 years' time. You'd imagine fighting for the title. But I was impressed by him. He showed maturity, he showed heart, and he showed, he didn't get too rocked, but there was a point where you're thinking, it's probably not going to be as nice tonight. And then he pulled out a bag once he got the time in, and he felt comfortable in the octagon. It was very similar to Paddy Pimblett's debut, and again, both of them came out, with more fans than they walked it. They left with more fans than they walked into the arena with, which is fantastic to see. And I'm interested to see what happens with the Takeover Part 2. Of course, you're going to take some time off and probably fight March, April, probably on the Conor McGregor card. Get the Irish packed in there and give us 2 absolute gems of fights with Ian Garry and McGregor fighting once more. Chris Bennett will kick Gian Vellante, didn't, of course, Vellante's final fight. Chris Barnett coming out with the dance moves. Again, Israel Adesanya would have been proud with that walkout, and of course the finish also, and then the front flip that he landed too. An absolute, he's become a hero amongst men in just a short amount of time. Chris Barnett, it'd be interesting to see what happens next. In his next fight, of course, and obviously Dustin Jacoby beat John Allen by unanimous decision. Desarian beat Bruno Souza by unanimous decision also. Obviously, you had Eddie Osborne win via unanimous decision. Those were all in the early prelims, but of course in the prelims you had Alex Perieira flying knee Andreas Michailidis in the second round. Of course, he did get taken around in the first round. You're thinking, oh, Andreas is probably going to show him typical jiu-jitsu versus kickboxer who's very early in the game. He's going to show him a different, the levels of the UFC, you could say. But Perieira came out and made the adjustments, although he didn't need to make too many adjustments. He just came out there and threw a knee straight out of the middle onto Andreas' chin, and that was all she wrote. Bobby Green knocked out Ali Quinter. Interesting to see where Ali Quinter is now in his career. First fight in since 2019. But unfortunately, 1-2 knocked him down, and Bobby Green got a finish from there. Absolutely fantastic. Chris Curtis threw an upset against Philip Halls. Halls was piling on the pressure, thinking, oh, this could be a win for Philip Halls here. But now whether he gassed out or just got caught, we don't know. But Chris Curtis definitely came up the victory on that one with a fantastic finish. As did Nasruddin Imavov beating Edmund Shabazian. Edmund Shabazian now on a 3-fight skid. It's not looking good for the youngster. I think he needs to probably switch gyms, maybe go to an ATT or an AKA, learn how to wrestle, maybe go somewhere with excellent jiu-jitsu. ATT for me is the number one gym at the moment. Maybe go to Stanford MMA where Ian Garry's gone and looks like he can be very fastly developing with the likes of Michael Chandler, Derek Brunson. He put a beating on Edmund Shabazian last year. Robbie Lawler's there, you got Gilbert Burns, Vicente Luque, all in that gym. So I think Shabazian just needs a change in camp. Whereas Imavov is obviously with Sirigani, interim champion heavyweight, and he showed that there's going to be a French Revolution happening at the UFC, and that we need to go and visit Paris very soon. And he's now moved up into, I think, 12 in the rankings. You can book him against Brad Tavares, Calvin Gastelum, Uriah Hall, Darren Till. I'd like to see Darren Till versus Amazov, maybe in London. That'd be a fantastic fight for me. Maybe put him on the pay-per-view in that March time, depending on when Darren Till is ready to come back, of course. But yeah, he certainly impressed on the night also. So yeah, that's the whole card. A fantastic night of fights. All in all, probably my favourite night in MMA, because it was just banger after banger after banger from the prelims up to the main event. And it showed, interesting to see what narrative go from the winners and the losers going into 2022. I doubt many people will be fighting in 21 unless there's a real short notice fight where someone pulls out and maybe a Chris Barnett drops in. You never know in this day and age. But yes, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to drop this a like and go follow us on social media at CageChat MMA. And I'll see you guys on the next video.